The president stands with the American people on this. He doesn't want to see people like Nancy Pelosi enriching themselves off of public service and ripping off their constituents in the process. I think it's frankly ridiculous that anyone in this room would even suggest that President Trump is doing anything for his own benefit. He left a life of luxury and a life of running a very successful real estate empire for public service, not just once, but twice. And again, the American public reelected him back to this White House because they trust he acts in the best interests of our country and putting the American public first. This is a president who has actually lost money for being president of the United States.
Dear God, I think I've identified Karoline Leavitt's first lie. She had such a good track record too, but no, that wasn't true. And ridiculous or not, I am going to continue to assert that Donald Trump is massively enriching himself and his family with the presidency. And however much you think he's benefited monetarily, you gotta get that number up. It's higher than you think, because a new analysis says they believe that since 2017, him and his family have been enriched to the tune of $3.4 billion, which is something like twice as much as they were worth before he entered the White House. And so whether you believe his real estate empire was successful or not previously, like Karoline Leavitt says that she does, nothing he has done, no condo sales, no golf courses, no Trump steaks, no Trump air, any of that can compare to the money that he has earned thanks to the fact that he is the White House. And he's not the only one benefiting. A lot of wealthy people have benefited massively since he became president. And we will be diving into that, but let's start off with him. So the first revenue stream, and there are many of these, seemingly a new one every week, comes from Trump's Palm Beach estate, Mar-a-Lago. So in addition to the revenue he generates by holding his own campaign events at the club, which directly benefits him monetarily, he has profited from other candidates, conservative groups, and influence seekers rushing to hold events there too, again, for pay. He takes the money the donors paid to those other candidates, it goes to Donald Trump. And way more than you might think. The club says that it limits membership to 500 people. Each reportedly pays an annual fee of about $20,000. But after the 2016 election, he began jacking up that initiation fee. In 2016, it was $100,000. Last fall, it was set to rise to $1 million. And it could be 5 million, it could be 20 million. It doesn't matter, because there are definitely 500 people that want proximity to the president and they will pay for it. And unlike a campaign donation, there's no limit on what he can accept. They can just hand $20 million to the president, have his ear, have dinner with him, have big, beautiful pieces of cake, and it's all legal. Campaign finance laws need not apply. And that's not it. Okay, that's $125 million he's apparently benefited just through Mar-a-Lago. But there's a lot more than that, and it's escalating, particularly in the area of cryptocurrency. 73% of his net worth apparently now comes from crypto, despite the fact that his family only really got into it like 2 years ago. I mean, he had his trading cards or whatever, but now massively overshadowing real estate or anything like that. He has made over $400 million on token investments. His family has made about $1.3 billion thanks to cryptocurrency so far. And what do you know, by the way? Since he became president, he's passed multiple executive orders further deregulating cryptocurrency. Just last week, he passed an executive order allowing Wall Street's variety of different alternative investment mechanisms, including cryptocurrency, to now have access to 401ks, which not only massively benefits them, but also potentially imperils millions of Americans' retirements. And so he is set to make way more off of that as well. Now, we have a lot more on this, but Nina, we're gonna broaden this to how corporations have been benefiting recently, but we're starting with the Trump family because this myth persists that he would never do anything for his own financial advantage. And I find that to be offensive since I'm a fan of reality. What do you think?
I am too, John, and certainly the presidency is the best thing that has ever happened to President Donald J. Trump. It certainly is a one-way ATM, unfortunately, while he is in office. A lot of politicians of that stature certainly have made money or come into it with a lot of money. That's one of the problems with the system, that it does not comport itself to allow working class people to really have an opportunity to run for Congress writ large, the Senate or the House, less known the presidency of the United States of America. His press secretary is delusional, but you know what? TYT family, she's doing her job. Her job is to advocate and to defend the president of the United States of America, just like every other press secretary has. And from time to time, John, they don't suspect that people like us and others will see the cracks in what they are saying. He left a life of luxury. How is that? I mean, he has the plane on America's dime. He lives in public housing on our dime. He benefits from a public healthcare system, one that he and members of the GOP and also Democrats too are not willing to afford to other Americans in this country. So it is very clear, and that stat, just staggering, John, $3.4 billion off of being the president of the United States of America and counting. And shame on folks that won't stop the stock buybacks. Yep. And that kind of stuff that is happening in the Congress. Again, Democrats had the opportunity to do it. Former leader Nancy Pelosi stood in the way of it. So for me, John, neither one of these parties, we're highlighting the corrupt nature, that it is legal to bribe politicians in the United States of America. I need the Dragon Squad to wrap their minds around it, understand it, and the fact that this is bigger than President Donald J. Trump. This system existed before him. Hopefully it won't exist after him, but we, the thinking public and people who care about this level of corruption have got to act to be able to put bumpers along the way to stop this from happening. And campaign finance reform, John, is one of the ways to do it. Although some of the things that you laid out, campaign finance reform would not be able to prevent in the immediate moment the fact that the president can rent out Mar-a-Lago whenever he wants to.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that I've been asking for a long time and I've never gotten an answer. Like, so if you, let's say you run for office and you release an NFT, it's nothing, it's just digital fluff or whatever, and you charge $5 million for it. You could just do that? Like, and some billionaire that they wouldn't do that for you.
I don't know in that case, John. I'm saying, I don't know. I'm kind of warming
some
up
candidate. Okay, let's say we track down a left-wing billionaire who gives a damn about the world or whatever, and he's like, yeah, no, I want that NFT that she made. I'm gonna give $100 million for that. You can do that, I guess.
Yeah.
Evidently you can. I guess this is a rhetorical question, but evidently you can. And even in that, the bill that you were referring to that bans the individual stock trading, which definitely should be passed and should have, as you said, been passed under the Democrats. But unfortunately, Nancy Pelosi is only on board when she's in charge of it. Has a carve out so Donald Trump can continue to maintain individual stock until after he's president anymore. So the corruption. And also the idea that he left a life of luxury. Have you looked at what he's done to the Oval Office? He covered everything in gold. He's building a $200 million ballroom for fancy dancing. He hasn't left anything. He's dragged it along everywhere he's gone. And so are the people not sick finally of the corruption, the epic bribery and corruption? And one other thing I worry about, and feel free to chime in on that, but prior to this, the crypto week, we already had a bunch of, especially Democratic primaries, where crypto money would flood in there. Oh, I know you know everything about this. Would flood in there, and now the gloves are off. They can make even more money, and they're definitely going to use it to influence these elections. What race is going to be free of the influence of cryptocurrency from here on out?
None, John, as it seems. And if this, corruption is flowing like milk and honey. Personally, for my race in 2020 and 2021, as you well know, and the TYT family knows, crypto money came in heavy in the Ohio 11th district. And it turns out that my race in 2020 and 2021 was the most expensive congressional race for the Ohio 11th congressional district. These people are buying that. People have to understand these big money interests, they're not doing this for nothing. They're not just doing this for a picture and a smile. They're doing this to be able to purchase influence, the level of influence that the average voter, the average American just does not have. And so we call this the United States of America. But John, I'm really, it's the corporate states of America. And it's been that way for a long time. But to your point, the bubbling up that is really all up in our face. Like nobody can say that they don't see it. because President Donald J. Trump is making sure that we fully understand the situation. The question becomes, when is enough enough? And when will the American people revolt enough in that we don't elect people? We don't even entertain electing anybody that takes this kind of money. And if the Democratic Party was smart, John, if they were smart, because they're real feckless, if they were smart, they would bar dark money, big money, all of that in primaries. It is a corrupting force indeed, and it drowns out. This is the point. It's not just about me. It's about what happened to Congresswoman Cori Bush or Congressman Bowman, people like that, and so many others, John, who don't have a real opportunity. But more important than any of us who've ever run for office, it is about the residents in St. Louis, the residents in a portion of New York, the residents of Greater Cleveland, having their voices and their right to choose, unfettered by other influences, the type of people that they want elected to serve them and not the corporate interest. It's the owner donors, and they got choke collars on these people.
100%. Yeah, and the collars are gonna get even bigger. They're gonna be gold plated, but they're still gonna be collars.